There is something undeniably different about a Sigma man. Unlike the Alpha, who seeks attention, or the Beta, who seeks approval, the Sigma moves quietly. He carries himself with a calm independence that is rare in today's world. He does not chase crowds, nor does he bend himself to fit into them. Instead, he is content in his solitude, building his own path. And perhaps this is why, when a woman finds herself drawn to a Sigma man, her response is unlike the usual signs of affection people expect. Women sense something different in a Sigma: the strength of silence, the discipline of detachment, and the comfort of a man who needs nothing yet gives everything without words. Unlike men who rely on charm or displays of dominance, the Sigma creates an aura of quiet mystery. This makes a woman's affection for him less about outward show and more about subtle, almost hidden expressions. A woman in love with a Sigma rarely acts the way she would around other men. She does not feel the need to play games, nor to test his limits with unnecessary drama. Instead, her love takes on quiet forms, gestures that may seem small to others, but are profoundly meaningful to him. In a world filled with noise, where attraction is often performed as a spectacle, the way a woman loves a Sigma man remains understated yet powerful. These are not grand displays. They are signs only a man who lives attentively and calmly will notice. Today we will explore these 6 secret signs. Signs that reveal how women truly act when they fall for a Sigma man. If you are a Sigma yourself, or walking the path of becoming one, you will find these insights not only comforting but also grounding, because they remind you that love, like respect, is not always shouted from rooftops. Sometimes it is whispered in silence, waiting for you to notice. Number 1, she values his solitude. A woman who is truly in love with a Sigma man learns a lesson many overlook. Silence is not rejection. For the Sigma, quiet time is a sacred space. It is not a wall built to keep people out, but a sanctuary where his inner strength is refined. Introverted by nature and deeply independent, the Sigma uses solitude the way a tree uses its roots, hidden from view yet essential for survival. Research in psychology highlights that solitude is not the same as loneliness. In fact, intentional solitude has been linked to higher creativity, stronger emotional regulation, and better problem-solving skills. A Sigma man thrives in this state, and a woman who loves him understands that his strength is cultivated in these quiet hours. Rather than pushing against his need for space or interpreting it as a personal slight, she embraces it as part of his design. This is not always easy, as many relationships are built on constant interaction and reassurance. Yet, studies in interpersonal communication show that respecting a partner's boundaries fosters deeper trust and intimacy. By honoring his quiet moments, she communicates an unspoken message. I value you enough to let you be yourself. That kind of respect builds a foundation far stronger than clinginess ever could. In turn, the Sigma feels safe with her, knowing she does not demand constant attention or invade his inner world. This creates a rare bond of mutual freedom and trust, which is one of the hallmarks of healthy, lasting love. Culturally, we often glorify loud passion and visible displays of affection, but history and literature remind us of another truth, that love can be steady, patient, and quietly enduring. Consider great minds like Albert Einstein or Nikola Tesla, both of whom valued solitude as a crucible for their work. Their partners, when understanding, gave them the space to flourish. In the same way, a Sigma's woman becomes a silent ally in his journey. She knows his stillness is where he regathers strength, clarity, and purpose. She does not crowd him during these moments, but instead waits with the calm assurance that he will return to her renewed. In honoring his space, she waters the soil where his strength grows, and together they cultivate a love that is resilient, balanced, and deeply rooted in respect. Number 2, she mirrors his calm. Unlike with other men, where emotions may flare or spiral, a woman in the presence of a Sigma male often discovers a striking shift within herself. His quiet balance has a way of reshaping her emotional state. Without him demanding it, she steadies her own energy, finding herself calmer and more thoughtful than she would normally be. Psychologists often refer to this as emotional regulation through co-regulation, the phenomenon where one person's stability naturally influences the nervous system of another. In relationships, this effect is well documented. When one partner maintains composure, the other is more likely to mirror that emotional state. With Sigma men, this influence is even more pronounced because their independence, self-mastery, and lack of emotional chaos create an environment that feels safe and grounding. What makes this calming presence unique is that it doesn't come from force or domination. A Sigma does not control a woman by raising his voice or trying to bend her to his will. Instead, he embodies a self-contained stillness that invites her to reflect rather than react. In a world where high emotional reactivity is common, fueled by stress, constant notifications, and social pressures, this quiet strength stands out. Women often describe it as refreshing, like stepping out of a noisy room into a serene garden. Science supports this idea as well. Studies on social interactions show that humans unconsciously sync heart rates, breathing patterns, and even stress hormones like cortisol with those they spend time with. When a Sigma maintains inner balance, his partner often feels that stability ripple into her own body and mind. This effect also explains why a woman may find herself speaking differently around him. Her tone softens, her words slow, and her thoughts gather more deliberately. It isn't submission but alignment. It is as though the Sigma sets a frequency and she tunes into it without resistance. Interestingly, this mirrors ancient wisdom traditions. In both Stoicism and Eastern philosophy, the idea of inner mastery shaping the external world has long been emphasized. The Sigma lives this principle without declaring it, and women sense it intuitively. The result is not just emotional calm, but a deep respect. Unlike with other men, where tempers or egos might compete, she feels safe to let her guard down. This subtle transformation highlights one of the Sigma's most profound influences, not what he does outwardly, but the unseen atmosphere he creates. His presence alone becomes a lesson in composure, teaching her and anyone who encounters him that true strength does not shout, it steadies. Number 3. She shows genuine curiosity. When a woman falls in love with a Sigma man, her curiosity doesn't stay at the surface. Unlike casual interest, her attention goes far beyond appearances or polite small talk. Women are often fascinated by the Sigma male's inner world because it feels layered, private, and mysterious. Sigma's independence, his self-assured silence, and his way of moving through life without needing validation make her want to understand what lies behind that calm exterior. Psychologists note that humans are naturally drawn to mystery and depth, qualities that spark both attraction and long-term interest. This is why women in love with Sigma men find themselves asking questions that dig into his values, beliefs, and hidden thoughts. Rather than sticking to the usual "how was your day," she will want to explore his perspectives on life, purpose, and meaning. Research in social psychology has shown that when someone is deeply invested in a relationship, they seek self-expansion, a term describing the desire to grow by learning from and merging with another person's world. For the Sigma male, who often keeps his inner circle small and his emotions guarded, this means she is making a deliberate effort to cross that boundary and connect with him on a deeper level. Her questions might seem simple at first, but they carry weight, because they stem from a genuine wish to be included in his private universe. At the same time, her behavior reflects the reality that Sigma men challenge traditional dynamics. He does not compete for her attention like an alpha might, nor does he depend on her approval like a beta might. Instead, his quiet detachment invites her to lean in closer. Women in love with Sigma men often find themselves valuing silence, reflection, and vulnerability in ways they might not have with others. They recognize that every answer he gives is measured, authentic, and rarely meant to impress. This makes his words even more valuable, encouraging her to keep asking, to keep exploring. In the end, her curiosity is not just about him, it's about them. By wanting to know what drives his decisions, what he dreams about, and what principles he refuses to compromise on, she is weaving herself into his world. For the Sigma man, who rarely allows people into his inner life, this becomes a powerful signal of genuine connection. It shows that love for him isn't built on surface-level attraction, but on a deeper pursuit of understanding, a pursuit that transforms both people in the relationship. Number 4, she trusts his leadership without resistance. Though he does not demand control, she senses his quiet authority. This kind of authority is not born from force or dominance, but from presence, consistency, and earned trust. In psychology, researchers often highlight the concept of earned leadership, where individuals naturally follow those who demonstrate competence, stability, and emotional intelligence. Unlike authoritarian figures who impose their will, the Sigma male embodies a subtler kind of influence. His authority rests on his ability to act calmly under pressure, to choose carefully rather than impulsively, and to show through his actions that he is dependable. This reliability fosters trust, and trust is the foundation of respect. When a woman feels this quiet strength, she does not feel pressured into submission. Instead, she feels secure in allowing him to lead. Studies on relationship dynamics often reveal that women, across cultures, are more likely to trust and follow partners who provide emotional safety and clarity in decision-making. It is not about control, but about stability. In this sense, his leadership resembles the way a lighthouse guides ships. It does not chase or shout, but it stands firm and offers direction through its steady glow. There is also an evolutionary layer to this dynamic. Anthropologists note that throughout history, communities survived because of leaders who were not only strong, but also wise. People followed hunters, builders, and decision-makers who could stay calm in chaos, not those who panicked or sought attention. This echoes in modern relationships. Women instinctively recognize when a man's authority comes from wisdom and integrity rather than ego. It reassures them that he can weather storms without crumbling under pressure. Moreover, this quiet authority is magnetic because it balances independence with responsibility. The Sigma man does not need to control others to feel validated. He leads by example, showing through consistent action that his choices are thoughtful and grounded. This makes his leadership style both rare and refreshing in a world often filled with loud voices competing for dominance. In turn, the woman who senses this authority finds peace in following his lead, not because she lacks her own strength, but because she trusts his. True partnership does not mean equality is lost. Rather, it means each person recognizes and values the other's unique strengths. His ability to stand firm without demanding control allows her to relax into her own role with confidence, creating a balance that feels natural, harmonious, and deeply secure. Number 5, she becomes protective of his energy. When a woman is truly in love with a Sigma male, one of the clearest signs is how she instinctively shields him from unnecessary noise. This doesn't just mean physical silence, but also the kind of peace that protects him from chaos, drama, and the distractions of the modern world. The Sigma man values solitude, calm, and clarity, qualities often misunderstood in a society that thrives on constant stimulation. A woman who recognizes this adjusts herself in ways that many wouldn't even notice, yet those subtle changes speak volumes about her devotion. Love often reveals itself through sacrifice, and here it takes the form of restraint. Instead of bringing gossip, trivial arguments, or constant demands into his space, she becomes selective with what she shares, ensuring that her words and actions contribute to peace rather than conflict. Studies in psychology highlight that relationships thrive when partners respect each other's temperament and needs. Introverts and reflective individuals, for example, experience greater satisfaction when their environments are free from excessive social noise and unnecessary conflict. A woman who loves a Sigma intuitively understands this and aligns her behavior accordingly. You might notice her discouraging drama, not only by avoiding it herself, but also by protecting him from external pressures. If friends or family attempt to pull him into needless disputes, she subtly steps in, deflecting the tension before it ever reaches him. Her actions are not about control, but about creating a protective shield around the quiet life they share. In evolutionary psychology, this is tied to mate-guarding behavior, not in the possessive sense, but in preserving the emotional environment that allows a partner to thrive. For the Sigma male, his inner sanctuary is his strength, and she ensures it stays unshaken. What makes this especially powerful is that she doesn't just reduce the noise around him, she adjusts her own habits. Maybe she lowers her voice when discussing stressful topics, learns to enjoy the simplicity of still moments, or even changes her daily routines to sync with his pace. These are small, almost invisible gestures, yet they build a foundation of harmony. The bond between them strengthens because he feels seen, valued, and deeply respected for who he is. In truth, love for a Sigma man often looks like protection, not from physical danger, but from the world's chaos. A woman in love becomes both companion and guardian of his peace. And in return, the Sigma doesn't just appreciate her efforts. He thrives in that environment, which allows him to give back the kind of loyalty and love that runs deep and unwavering. Number 6, she offers her loyalty without conditions. Loyalty, in its truest form, is not something that can be bartered or weighed on a scale of give and take. When a woman gives her loyalty freely, it is not because she has counted the cost or measured what she is getting in return. Instead, it is born out of something deeper, an emotional trust and an instinctive recognition that the man she stands beside carries a rare presence. In psychology, researchers have long observed that genuine attachment is not transactional but relational. People who form secure attachments don't constantly check a balance sheet of affection. They invest because the bond itself holds meaning. In this sense, her loyalty mirrors the concept of altruism in evolutionary biology, where acts of devotion exist not to be immediately repaid, but because they strengthen the long-term survival and success of the connection. This kind of loyalty is different from conditional loyalty, which has become increasingly common in today's fast-paced and transactional world. Modern relationships often come with unspoken agreements. I'll be here as long as you provide, or I'll stay if you meet my expectations. Conditional loyalty is fragile, crumbling the moment one side fails to perform. But what makes unconditional loyalty so powerful is its resilience. It is not tied to the changing winds of circumstance, but rooted in an unwavering choice. She does not stand by him because of material benefits, nor because of status, wealth, or comfort. Instead, her loyalty reflects an understanding of his essence, his character, his integrity, and his presence. That is enough. From an educational perspective, sociologists point out that this type of loyalty often grows stronger in relationships where there is authenticity and independence. The Sigma archetype, for instance, is known for his self-reliance and quiet confidence. These traits may not invite crowds, but they inspire a unique kind of trust in those who truly see him. His presence, though understated, creates stability, a signal that he does not need validation from the world to define himself. That stability is what she anchors her loyalty to. In a way, it is not about what he provides externally, but about the energy of who he is. Entertainment often paints loyalty as grand gestures, standing by someone through storms and wars. But in reality, it is quieter. It shows up in the everyday moments, in the way she defends him in his absence, in her consistency when he falters, and in her refusal to let temporary struggles weaken permanent devotion. Her loyalty is not an echo of convenience, but a conscious act of faith. And the most fascinating part is that it requires no transaction. His presence, rare, steady, and genuine, is enough for her to give what the world often withholds: unwavering loyalty. When it comes to love, Sigma men often walk a quieter and more thoughtful path. Unlike men who thrive on external validation or visible grand gestures, a Sigma finds depth in silence, presence, and subtlety. This isn't because he lacks passion, but because his way of loving and being loved flows beneath the surface. A woman who truly loves a Sigma rarely feels the need to shout it from the rooftops. Instead, her devotion reveals itself in quiet, steady acts of patience, loyalty, and calmness that mirror his own. These are not theatrical signs, but deeply intentional ones, speaking to the Sigma's preference for authenticity over performance. Psychologists often note that introverted or independent personalities, such as those fitting the Sigma archetype, place more value on consistency and trust than on dramatic emotional displays. Research even shows that long-term relationship satisfaction is strongly tied to subtle behaviors, small gestures of support, respect, and trust, rather than extravagant declarations of love. This aligns with the Sigma man's world. He doesn't need the spotlight to feel secure, but he does need to sense genuine alignment. When a woman respects his solitude, it tells him she understands his need for personal space. When she mirrors his calm, it demonstrates emotional maturity rather than turbulence. When she trusts his quiet leadership, it reassures him that his natural instincts are valued. And when she protects his peace, it speaks volumes about her respect for his inner world. These signs are powerful not because they are rare, but because they are real. They reveal a form of love that doesn't demand attention but grows steadily in the background. For the Sigma, these gestures remind him that solitude is a choice, not a curse, that while he thrives in independence, he is not destined to walk alone. They prove that even in a noisy, distracted world, Love can exist in the form of unspoken understanding and unwavering presence. If you are a Sigma, perhaps you've already recognized these subtle signals. Or maybe now you'll start to notice them more clearly. Either way, remember this. Love does not need to be loud to be true. Sometimes the strongest bonds are the ones that blend seamlessly with silence, steady, unshaken, and unforced, just like the Sigma himself.